All right, hello everybody. I'm going through one of my blunder-throughs, so I'm going down a rabbit hole, and I want to take you with me, drag you with me, because I'm really interested in, as I'm working on the book, I was starting to write a section on cadastral mapping, which has a powerful history. And I found out that there's a way in QGIS to look at old maps. So when you look at this article from Geographic Studies, Estudos Geográficos, Cadastral Maps, History, Geography, and Historiography by Roger Kane. Roger Kane had written a book about cadastral maps, and he talks about how important it is down here. He says the many thousands of land parcel-based cadastral maps with their many millions of mapped land parcels cry out for the techniques of digital humanities. And it has the potential to move the study of cadastral maps and registers to a new dimension by asking new questions in new ways and with new analytical techniques. A really exciting prospect. And really, what's pointed out in here is that cadastral maps are often used in conquest. It says here, in the Americas, they were absolutely integral to programs of land settlement by colonial powers and then by independent nations. Not least in Canada, the marginalization of Indigenous peoples is recorded in property maps. Maps which were essential before titles to land could be confirmed. And so cadastral, meaning determining property by mapping, has been so tied up in the marginalization of peoples, whether it was the Enclosure Acts in England in the Middle Ages. That's where we get the Robin Hood myths. Robin Hood was part of a forest that had been cadastrally mapped and then closed off to the so-called peasantry, to the common people, because the landowners wanted to exploit it, mostly for timber. So that's Sherwood Forest. So there's a lot of history in this, but in GIS, we're looking at new maps, obviously. We're not looking at old maps. And whatever we bring in from quick map services is going to be new stuff. So what if we were able to use old maps on top of that? So I'll bring in, well, actually, I don't want to bring it in until I know my my mapping thing. But what if we wanted to bring in, for example, maps from this website I found called Old Maps Online, Discover History Through Old Maps Online. You can explore the maps, look at the Confederate States, look at Spain. I want to look at Morocco. Obviously, if you looked at the Middle East, you see a whole lot of stuff that is today in the United States under this administration considered too controversial to even talk about. So you can just guess and apply how these things would work to the land that was once known as, well, you know. Okay, so we will look at the Kingdom of Morocco in this. And if you look at Morocco, then you can see that there's a bunch of maps that come up for this landmass. The Kaiserreich Fez und Morocco. So here's one from 1844. And if we double click on that, I'll give it a heart. Save your favorite map. You have to create a profile. All right, I might as well do that. It's pretty cool. I'll continue with Google on this one and just make myself a part of this. All right, so here it is. Look at that map there. You can look at it in 3D and sort of see, but it's not really 3D. It's kind of cool that it does a tilt, so you can see that old map there. You can look at the document that is associated with it if it comes up, some metadata there. You can do a compare. Doesn't seem to do much for the compare. And then you can do discover, and the discover tells you what maps are available for this. When you double click on it, we should be able to, maybe we can't, yeah, there we go. Now we get the actual document, and that's what we want to bring in. And you'll notice it has latitude lines and longitude lines here. And so what you do in QGIS, I'm learning, is if we take this map, and I don't think I'm going to need to, see, let me do it again, let me find it again. There it is. How do I download it? Save image. I do save image as, and that's a WebP file. I'm probably better off by going to document, and then if I can get rid of that, no, it doesn't work. Let's see another way to do it. I just want to get rid of that top thing. If I need to keep the top thing in, I'll keep the top thing in. So when I go back to document, there's the map. I guess I can't. I guess if I make it smaller, I can do that. And then I'll just use my screen capture. Nice if I could do a nice, healthy, big. Oh, look at that. Wow. All right. So the document is 3D rotatable as well. But it doesn't seem like. What is this here? Reset bearing to north. Zoom in. Bring it down. All right. So we're going to have that annoying thing in there regardless, it seems. I'll favorite it so I can find it again. But the Kaiserreich map from 1844, we'll take this and grab it. And all right, so let me save this in a place that I'll remember. And I'm using, this is all for the democratizing HAF project sites for Morocco. I guess I have a High Atlas Mountain STRM shapefile exports, project site photos, boundary maps and other data. So I'll put it in there, and I think I'll make a new folder for this and call it old maps. And I will know that it's an old maps. And then I don't necessarily have to write it, but I will. I'll say, I'll copy this and then go back to my okay. All right, das Kaiserreich. All right, so now I have a map, and it's time to go into QGIS, and I'll go to raster and go to geoprocessing tools if I can find them, because it may have moved. Projections, miscellaneous, extraction, conversion. Oh, it's not in the same place that it was before. All right, in that case, let me go. There is a tutorial that I'm following, and it is this one here, and he finds his in an earlier version of QGIS.
So to do this, head over to raster, click on it, and click on Georeferencing. A new window.
So ours is not there, so maybe it's a plugin that we have to download, because I don't see under raster any geoprocessing. In that case, maybe it's under align rasters now. Let's check that for a second. Rasterize. Override reference cell size. No, that's different. So let me see. Plugins, manage and install plugins, and then say Georeference extension. There's one there. Extension. Save georeferencing results instead of geotiffany. That's not necessarily what I want. All right, in that case, if it's not showing up, it's either been deprecated or
over to raster, click on it, and click on Georeferencing. A new window.
And georeferencer tool. So I need to ask, where is the georeferencer tool? Maybe chat can help us find it. Hey there, chat. Where is the georeferencing tool in QGIS 3.40? I see it in a tutorial from a previous version under raster, but it isn't there and it isn't listed as a plugin. Can you find that? Let's see what chat says. It's been relocated to the layer menu. All right, so the layer menu. All right, so let's go back to QGIS, find the layer menu, and now georeferencer's right there. Okay, it's great to have chat by your side. So having put that in here, we're now going to add a map, and that map is going to be the maps, boundary maps and other data, and it's going to be under old maps. And we'll take that, and what we can do now is say, well, there are lat-long lines. We're going to pick 4 points. We're going to pick 30 and 12. So the east line, if I zoom all the way in on this, let me make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah. So this point here, x east, I've got to, again, make sure I do this right. So let me go back to the tutorial and see where he put the x east. He did his on, let's see.
By zooming to the first point, as you can see, the point is the intersection of this x coordinate and this y coordinate, which are in meter. So I will go ahead and
east. And so we'll go back here. That map showed it. This map doesn't. But the east line here is going to be, and it looks like I'm not quite on the line, but it's all right. It should work more or less. That is going to be, what is that? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it is 12. And then, isn't it 4, 1, 2, 3, 4? And then up here it is 30. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope that's right. And then we will say OK for that. And it goes into the database there. And then let's go and pick another point. It turns red, the green one down there. We'll pick another one up here because this thing is obviously somewhat curved. We'll come in on it and place another point. And that point will be the same thing. We're going up the same line for 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. But our north is going to be 36. All right. And then we need to go over to the other side of the map and find a point which would be here, which is, let's find out what it looks like down here. 0. There's the 0 line, isn't it? Yes, that's the 0 line down there. One, 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope I got the numbers right. And then up here in north, we are at 36. I guess the 0 is Greenwich median. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope I did that correctly, because if I did, oh, I don't have all the points. I'm still missing a point. Okay, so another point has to be done down. Oh, lordy. Okay, so this box. Yikes. I guess it's here. It may be a bit distorted. In fact, it is distorted because I need to come off of, well, no, because there's the line on the map. Well, it's all because of this thing here. That's not the line. So the line literally is at, I've got to sort of eyeball it and hope I get it right. So we're talking about 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're talking about 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and say OK. Now we have 4 points on the map. And I think then when we go and play it, set the output file name. So the linear transformation type should be polynomial 1, I was told. The output file is going to be that whole thing there. As a georeference TIFF, we're going to use the nearest neighbor. We're going to use generate a PDF map. No, we don't want to do that now. Compression we're not going to do. We're going to load it in the project when we're done. We're going to save the GCP points, I guess, for later. And then we're going to say OK. And then it's supposed to play it. I don't see it doing anything. Now, okay, so now we have it. And why did it flip it over? That's weird. I must have neglected to put a negative or something. Oh, lordy. All right. So it is flipped on which axis? It's flipped on this one here, right? Because it's not flipped north-south. So let me go back. Let me get rid of that. And let me remove the layer. And let me go back to my georeferencer. I still have my points there, which is great. I do need to go to my georeferencer, which doesn't seem to come up now. Why? Maybe it's off the map here somewhere? No. Oh, there it is. It just took a second to load, I guess. So I think I probably have to put in the source Y. Source Y. I don't know, maybe if I flip this around and get rid of the negative. It seems odd that I have to do that, but oh no, that just flips it that way. Well, we'll see what happens when I get rid of the This is a really weird way to do it. Well, that ain't gonna flip it over, is it? That's bizarre. Because if I run this now it's flipped over upside down. And before, how was it flipped before? Let's undo. So clearly that's not the way to do it. Let's go back to what we had when we had the negative number there, and we had the negative number here, and we had the negative number there, and we had the negative number here. And then we'll get rid of this, and we'll run it again. And I'm really interested in seeing, and I'll close this for a second, but just what did it look like on the actual map with that. So let me bring in a base map. Web. Bring in a Google satellite. And where is the satellite map? Clearly, if I zoom to that layer, that's there, and we are nowhere near that because we are in the zoomed layer off in another coordinate system entirely. All right, so I've made some mistake, and I need to go look at how to correct that. One moment. All right, well, it's back to ChatGPT. Fortunately, we can take a picture of this and ask it and say, hey, Chat, I'm trying this out for the first time, and I may have input the lat or long wrong because the map is showing up in the wrong location. Can you look at the numbers and see what I should be using? I thought the east coordinates were number on the bottom of the map with 0, 0, 0, 0 added, and the same with the numbers on the right, on the left of the map for latitude. For example, 31 with let's see what chat comes up with. Longitude values should be negative. And they are negative. Okay, latitude should be positive. Incorrect scaling. If the numbers are longitude 31, they represent degrees. If you add 0, drastically change the coordinate system. So whatever I was learning from that other, see this video here, he was using 28.111111 meters. So that is where this 0000 came from that he entered in when he was putting this stuff in. And I guess I'm using that wrong. So I want to see then, chat suggests decimal degrees. Map is using projected coordinates, then adding zeros may make sense, only to show the map requires that. Okay. 31.000. Instead of it, try to put them as decimal degrees. I'm going to say this, please, because I don't want to do that math. So we get okay. So let's say we'll do right. Give me a moment, it says. I love that. I love that it's analyzing this, helping out. It is pretty cool. Latitude. -31, -6, not 6. All right, so let's just try that out. So we can come back here and we can say, oh my. All right, so where did our information come from? We had 30,036, and then we had all of this. So I'll just start again because I don't want to. Let me get rid of all of this. I'm not sure how to get rid of this. Maybe I just reset. Reset georeferencer. Okay, so once again we will add the map, and then it remembers all this. I don't want that. Maybe I made a mistake when we reset it again. And then let me add just the map, which might be this one here. Yeah, it's that one. All right, and that's backwards. So that doesn't help us. Don't know why that's backwards. So let's reset it again. And what do we have then in terms of our map? We had under old maps, date modified. The first one was this one here, which looks like that. So that's what we want. And I'm just going to call it Das Kaiserreich 1. So I know it's the base map. Come back in here and add Das Kaiserreich 1. There it is. And then let us add our points. This one here would be, once again, it would be 30, sorry, it would be 12. I'll just put 12 and 30. Say okay, and then let's go up here and put a point. I'm just going to do this quickly to make it sort of fit, and then go 12 and 36. And then we'll come over here and we'll put in that one, which will be, I guess that was 0, isn't it? 0, yep, and 36. And then down here we will estimate that it's about here. It could be stretched and distorted, but check it out and say that it is 0 and 30. Having this now, we run this, set an output file name, which is fine, and then we load it in. Say okay. There it is. Still strangely backward. And when we bring in the web, oh, it's not even anywhere near there. Still way off. So I don't understand that. No. So when you hit run, it's successfully georeferenced, but it's, look at that. It worked. Now, it worked, route flipped, so I've got to somehow flip it over. So I'm going to tell chat about that. Right? And let's see, wait a minute. Okay. Post that in. It kind of worked. The map is flipped over to the right. What may I do? Oh. And possible errors. They've actually swapped the x longitude and y values. -6 instead of 6. No, it's not that, chat. I'm sure all west longitudes are negative. So let's see. Let me take this out. I can keep it in actually. Let me go back to my georeferencer. Wait for it to load. Seems to take a minute. Access Pro. There it is. And let's see if I tried moving the negatives there and that didn't work. So destination X, destination Y. I'm going to rely on its logic and not use my own brain.
Do you want me to give this to Cindy, to give it to some kid, Nine? Look at me, Nine. Do you want to play with
Look
this
at
together?
this. I just need to flip the map on the vertical.
I want to play around like I'm a chameleon. When you pick up your clothes,
Left edge.
So you can go play like a chameleon.
Back
This is the only
over
time I want to put it on my... Yeah, no, but you can put it to one.
Imagine that.
Outside. I want to put it on my... But this is the only time
that is now the right side of the map. Needs
we're gonna give it to some other smaller kids.
On the left
Can you
as if the whole thing was rotated about the left edge by rotated. Swap the x coordinates. Swap each destination x to negative. That might work. Oh, so it says I can use the raster calculator. But I can also just go as it says and use the destination x. So I would then just change this to negative 12 and change this to negative 12. And that's supposed to do it. Now, when I do that, yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, so this one here was messed up. We don't need that anymore, so we can remove it. Oopsie, wrong one to remove. Doesn't let me undo. Oh, seriously. All right, so get rid of this one. Thought there'd be an undo. All right, we'll undo that. We'll redo our georeferencing. And we will... Oh, it's got those points still on there. That's very interesting. It's kind of weird. All right, so let's run this. Let's go back. There we go. So much better. Now, it's a little off, but I'm kind of okay with that because I didn't try to get very precise. And I don't know if I'm using the right projection system. But that's kind of cool because that means now if I go to the map website and I look for other Moroccan maps, let's go back to Discover, then I can find any maps I like. Here's one from North Africa. That's pretty cool. Just to see how things were named back then. There's so many. That's Algeria, Morocco and Tunis, Algeria, the colony, the French colony. They talk about cadastral mapping. They were like, this belongs to us. Although, that's Algeria, Spain and Portugal, the ancient history of Egypt. A lot of cool stuff in here. Oh, this is nice. So this is a map of the ancient history of the Egyptians, showing all the places that they considered part of their domain, with nice information over here. So if I go back, can I get rid of that? If I go back to there, all right, well, interesting. All right, so if I use that map and I go to the document, now I have the whole map. And once again, I would have to take that map, if it let me. All right, take that map, capture it, and here, usually you're supposed to look at the, I'm going to look at what it says the projection is. I haven't done that, but let's just say Egyptian Empire. Let's just see how close we can get. Egyptian Empire. All right, and then if we zoom in on this map, it tells us that it is Roman miles, longitude east from Ferro, and then British miles. and Stadia. British Museum did this, and Carthage is in there. All right, so with this, we're looking at 16, 14, 30. It's, I mean, obviously it's in the same region, so let's see how accurate we can get with this if we want to go to georeferencing and wait for that to come up. Sometimes I find it helps if you click off of it and then click on it, and then it comes up. And we'll make a new map, the Egyptian Empire. There we go. And this is fairly simple now. We're going to put a point in that says, can't really read it there. I think that's 16. And this, we'll have to look at the other map to get a better sense. So let's go back here and see. That was 32 and 14. 32, 14. 32, 14. So 14 is the east, and it's actually negative 14, and then 32. And then say OK. And then let's come up here and find a point. That is now, that is, oops, let's take a look down in here. 14, 12, oh my, 12 and 40, so negative 12 and 40. And then move over here, oops, didn't mean to do that. Come over here, and let's go for this part of the map, which is, you have to see, it is, what? That's 12, and it's going to be negative 38 and 40. It's a vast swath, negative 38 and 40, because it's the empire. All right, and then finally, this point here, which is negative 36 and 30. Negative 36 and 30. 6 and 30. And then let's say OK. Now we have our box. And we're going to tell it that we want to run it. So set the output file name, its old Egyptian modifier. We said we're going to use polynomial 1. We're going to use this target. And we're OK. So boom. And then didn't do anything. Why not? Ah, maybe there it is. Let's try again. Nope, didn't have anything. Alright, so we have this. And I guess it's because the destination, well, it didn't even put anything on there. So now it says it was georeferenced. There it is, and it's flipped. Okay, so it's flipped backwards once again. Something is wrong in the way I'm inputting the data. If we want to flip the destination, what did ChatGPT say? Was it X or Y we needed to flip? Swap each destination X. So the destination X here, we want to go to make that 14, make this 12, so I shouldn't have been messing around this time. Isn't that interesting? That should be 38, and that should be 36. And now the map looks right in terms of Mediterranean. So let's try it again. And let's see what we got. Well, kind of off there. That one needs to be getting out of here. And then move that way. So, oh, actually it is right. It's just off to the right a bit. Because if you look at, if we look at the transparency and we apply it, and you see that while we are off, we're not so far off. It's closer than it was before, right? But not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And if you want to look at turning it on and off, you say, okay, look here, it's too far north. Italy is way over displaced. The whole thing needs to be moved over. So something was wrong, but it's in the general region, and that has to do with the projection. But that's kind of fun then, because that means we can start applying some of these maps, these ancient historical maps, and then we'd have to find a way to actually move it over. And although you can't do that by hand, that's not going to happen. Stretch using current extent. So there's got to be some way to drag it over, but ain't that fun? And I think if I also want to look at, maybe there's more modern maps that I can look at for like Spain. I say Spanish Empire to discover, and La Barbarie is there. But what if I wanted to do something that's more colorful, like the Mediterranean Sea? So if you have a map like this of the Mediterranean Sea, that could be fun to have available. This one is from 1838. And so if I go to the document, this will be my last thing to do here, and zoom in on it. And this time, grab the map, and save it. Mediterranean 1838. Take that map, go into QGIS, go to a layer, go to Georeferencing, and let's open up. And we say add a new map. And once again, we would start with this here, which is in a much higher scale. So that is 20, 2015, 10, 5, 0. And then what is that? Can't read that very well. It is 5. So it must be that these are the negative values that we had before. That's what caused the confusion. These are positive values according to the Greenwich meridian, where 0 is, because it goes up to all the way up to England through Greenwich. It's called the meridian. So if that's 0, then this is -5 that way, and that's +5 that way, and that's what probably caused the confusion earlier. So this would be a -5. And this would be 25, because it's north of the equator. And then come up here and put a point. I'll put a point here at what looks like 55 north, but over here it is all of the Mediterranean now. 72, 77, 67. 67, which would be negative, because, well, that's weird. Now look at that. How can that be 67? If this is 0, then this should be 0, and it's not. It says 77. And I'm not going to trust that. It says longitude east from 87. From Washington. What? That's uncannily whacked. So I'm going to use the same line. I'm not going to. If this was -5 that I have, then this is going to be -5 up at the top there. And I'll see what happens with that. So I'm still going to say -5. I'm going to base it on the same thing as the bottom map. Again, projections can be weird. I'll come over here and I'm not going to have this 117 or whatever that is. I'm going to look at the map here, and we will say that this line, oh, it goes off the map, so I'm not going to use that point. I'm going to use this one here, which is 35. So let's cancel that point and go here, and we'll call this 35, and then we're at 45, 50, 55 there, because those are the same. And then we'll come down to here, and we'll say 35 and 25, I believe that is. Say OK. And that is on the map, and we'll try to run it. And we'll call it Mediterranean modified, nearest neighbor, polynomial, and let's hope that works. It's sitting here doing nothing. So I need to run it again. And it's successful, it said. And look at that. Yep, it maps onto Africa. It's just way distorted by something I did wrong, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's exciting that even though my projection is off because they do not match, it's still in the general vicinity. So the next thing we're going to have to learn to do is how to move those maps to ground truth them, and that's another rabbit hole that I'm going to have to go down on. But I think this is very exciting to know that you can take these ancient maps and put them sort of into the world so you can have discussions about them and print them out. That's a pretty neat feature. And then if you don't want to use QGIS at all, you can always just go to this incredible old maps online, and you can see it in relation to the world. And that's a great online feature to have, to be able to look at different times. So what fun this has been. Absolutely cool, and worth checking out, particularly as regards the Middle East. Very well worth going and looking at old maps and comparing them to this, or going to North America and looking at the different land treaties with the Native Americans and how much was promised and how much was taken away. That would be a great use for this as well. All right, lots of fun. Hope you enjoy using the georeferencing tool.